Picture this. It's 1982, and two of television's brightest young stars are about to collide in a moment that would define not just their careers, but their hearts. Michael J. Fox, the scrappy Canadian kid who just landed the role of Alex P. Keaton on a little show called Family Ties, was about to meet Nancy McKeon, the stunning brunette who was stealing America's heart as Joe Polniacek on The Facts of Life. What happened next wasn't just a Hollywood romance, was the beginning of one of Tinseltown's most enduring and beautiful friendships. But here's what nobody saw coming. Their love story would end before it really began. Yet somehow last a lifetime. The year was 1982, and Hollywood was a different beast entirely. Reagan was in the White House, MTV actually played music videos, and television was king. Michael J. Fox had just turned 21. It's a compact bundle of energy and ambition, who'd been grinding through auditions and bit parts since he was a teenager. He'd moved to Los Angeles from Vancouver with nothing but a backpack, a few $100s, and dreams bigger than his 5'4" frame. Nancy McKeon, meanwhile, was television royalty in the making. At 19, she'd already been cast as the tough, leather jacket-wearing Joe on The Facts of Life, a role that would make her one of the most recognizable faces on television. With her dark hair, piercing eyes, and an attitude that could melt steel, Nancy wasn't just another pretty face, she was a force of nature. Their worlds collided at a party in Beverly Hills. One of those glittering Hollywood affairs where young stars mingled. Networks schmoozed, and careers were made or broken over champagne and small talk. Michael, never one to back down from a challenge despite his diminutive stature, spotted Nancy. Across the crowded room, she was holding court near the bar, surrounded by admirers, but something about her laugh, genuine, unguarded. Nothing like the manufactured giggles that echoed through most Hollywood parties caught his attention. She had this presence, Michael would later recall in interviews, though he rarely spoke about their relationship in detail. Nancy could walk into a room and you knew she was there. Not because she was trying to command attention, but because she deserved it. The approach wasn't smooth. Michael, for all his quick wit and charm, was still fundamentally a small-town kid navigating the shark-infested waters of Hollywood. He walked up to Nancy's circle, waited for a break in conversation, and delivered what he thought was a clever line about how Joe Polniacek could probably take Alex P. Keaton in a fight. The group laughed politely, but Nancy fixed him with a stare that could have frozen fire. "You think my character needs to fight yours to be interesting?" she asked, one eyebrow raised in challenge. Michael's face went red. He'd miscalculated. Badly. But then Nancy smiled, not the polite Hollywood smile, but something real and mischievous. "Though you're probably right. Joe would destroy Alex." That was it. That was the moment. What followed was a whirlwind romance that played out against the backdrop of two careers exploding into superstardom. Family Ties was becoming a cultural phenomenon, with Michael's portrayal of the conservative, money-obsessed Alex resonating with audiences in ways nobody had anticipated. The Facts of Life, meanwhile, was in its prime, with Nancy's Joe becoming a role model for young women who didn't fit the traditional mold of television femininity. Their relationship began in secret, as most young Hollywood romances did. Stolen dinners at out-of-way restaurants, late-night phone calls between grueling filming schedules, quiet moments in each other's trailers when their shows filmed on neighboring soundstages at NBC. Michael would often joke that their romance was sponsored by the network. They were both part of the NBC family, after all. "We were both so young," Nancy reflected years later in a rare interview about that period. Michael was this incredibly driven, brilliant person, but he was also just ... He was 21. I was 19. We were kids playing adults on television and trying to figure out how to be adults in real life. The relationship was passionate but complicated. Both were at crucial points in their careers, working 18-hour days and dealing with the sudden pressure of fame. Michael was discovering that Alex P. Keaton was turning him into a teen heartthrob, something that both thrilled and terrified him. Nancy was navigating the transition from child actress to young adult star, a journey that had destroyed many careers before hers. Their first real fight was about time or the lack thereof. Michael had been offered a small role in a film, one of his first opportunities to break into movies. But the shooting schedule conflicted with a rare weekend they'd planned together. Nancy encouraged him to take it, understanding the importance of the opportunity. But Michael could hear the disappointment in her voice. "Take the job," she told him over dinner at a tiny Italian place in the valley, the kind of restaurant where the owner's mother still made the pasta by hand. "This is important for you." "You're important to me," Michael replied, reaching across the table to take her hand. Nancy smiled, but there was something sad in her eyes. "I know, but so is your career, and so is mine." That conversation would prove prophetic. As both of their shows continued to climb in the ratings, their relationship began to feel the strain. There were missed dates, postponed plans, conversations cut short by early call times. The romance that had begun with such promise started to feel more like a carefully choreographed dance around conflicting schedules. The end, when it came, wasn't dramatic. There were no screaming fights, no tabloid scandals, no broken hearts publicly displayed. Instead, it was a quiet conversation in Michael's dressing room after a particularly long day of filming. Nancy had stopped by to visit, as she often did. But instead of the easy intimacy they'd once shared, there was an awkwardness, a sense that they were both trying too hard. "We're better as friends," Nancy said finally. The words hanging in the air like a soap bubble waiting to pop. Michael nodded, though something in his chest tightened. "Yeah, I think you're right. I don't want to lose you," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "What we have is too important." And that was how a Hollywood romance transformed into something rarer and more precious. A genuine, lasting friendship. What happened next defied every expectation of how former lovers should behave. Their friendship deepened as they both navigated the treacherous waters of post-peak television success. Michael's movie career was soaring with the Back to the Future trilogy and films like Teen Wolf and The Secret of My Success, while Nancy worked to establish herself as a serious actress beyond the role that had made her famous. But the real test of their friendship came in 1991, when Michael began experiencing the tremors that would eventually be diagnosed as Parkinson's disease. At first, he told almost no one, hiding the symptoms and hoping they would go away. Nancy was among the first to notice something was wrong. "He was trying so hard to be normal," she later remembered. But I'd known him for almost a decade at that point. I could see the frustration in his eyes when his hand wouldn't cooperate during a simple gesture. I could hear the exhaustion in his voice from fighting his own body. When Michael finally received his diagnosis in 1991, he was devastated. He was only 30 years old, at the height of his career, with a young family and seemingly unlimited potential ahead of him. The disease felt like a death sentence, not just for his career, but for the active, energetic life he'd always lived. Nancy didn't try to offer empty platitudes or false optimism. Instead, she simply showed up. She would arrive at his house with takeout food and no agenda, ready to watch movies or talk or just sit in comfortable silence. She listened when he raged against the unfairness of it all, and she reminded him of his strength when he felt nothing but weakness. "Nancy never treated me like I was sick," Michael wrote in one of his memoirs. "She treated me like I was Michael, just Michael, dealing with something difficult. That meant everything to me during those dark early days." The friendship proved its worth again and again over the years. When Michael decided to go public with his diagnosis in 1998, Nancy was there to support him through the media storm that followed. When he founded the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research, she became one of its most dedicated supporters. Not just financially, but personally, helping to organize events and raise awareness. Meanwhile, Michael was equally supportive of Nancy's journey, as she transitioned from teen star to adult actress, taking on more serious roles in television, movies, and series like Can't Hurry Love and The Division. Michael was always there too. Offer advice, connections, or simply a listening ear when Hollywood proved its capacity for cruelty. Michael taught me that success isn't about staying on top, Nancy once said. It's about staying true to yourself and the people who matter to you, no matter where your career takes you. Their friendship also weathered personal changes that might have strained other relationships. Michael married actress Tracy Pollan in 1988, and Nancy found love with film editor Mark Andrus, whom she married in 2003. Both marriages were strong and lasting, partly because both couples understood and respected the deep friendship their spouses shared. Tracy Pollan, in particular, embraced Nancy as an extended member of their family. Nancy has been such a constant in Michael's life, Tracy once observed. She was there before his diagnosis. She was there during the hardest times, and she'll be there long after. That kind of friendship is rare and precious, and I would never want to interfere with it. The years passed, and both Michael and Nancy evolved in ways that their younger selves could never have imagined. Michael became not just an actor, but an activist, using his platform to raise awareness and funds for Parkinson's research. His foundation has raised over $1 billion, making him one of the most effective celebrity advocates in medical research history. Nancy, meanwhile, found her calling in different kinds of storytelling, eventually working behind the camera, as a producer and director while continuing to act in carefully chosen projects. She also became a devoted mother, raising 2 daughters with Mark while maintaining the balance between public life and private happiness that had always been important to her. Through it all, their friendship remained a constant. They would speak regularly by phone, exchange long emails about everything from family news to political observations, and make sure to see each other whenever their paths crossed in Los Angeles or New York. Industry events would often find them gravitating toward each other. 2 old friends comfortable in each other's presence while navigating the sometimes artificial world of Hollywood socializing. People always ask me about Hollywood friendships, Michael said in a 2018 interview. They want to know if they're real or if they're just networking. All I can say is that some of the most genuine, loyal people I've ever known happen to work in this industry. Nancy is living proof of that. The friendship has also provided both of them with a unique perspective on fame, success, and what really matters in life. Having known each other since before either was truly famous, they serve as reminders of who they were before the world knew their names. Nancy knew me when I was just this cocky kid from Canada who thought he was going to conquer Hollywood, Michael reflected. She's seen me at my most arrogant, my most vulnerable, my most human. There's something incredibly valuable about having someone in your life who knew you before you became whoever the world thinks you are. For Nancy, the friendship has been equally grounding. Michael has this amazing ability to cut through all the nonsense and get to what's real, she explains. In an industry that's all about image and perception, having a friend who sees past all of that to who you really are, that's priceless. As both have entered their 60s, their friendship has taken on new dimensions. They've become each other's witnesses to a life well lived. People who can remember not just the public triumphs, but the private struggles, the small victories, the everyday moments that make up a real relationship. Michael's battle with Parkinson's continues, and while the disease has progressed, his spirit and determination remain as strong as ever. Nancy has been there for every milestone, every setback, every small victory in his ongoing fight. When he published his books about living with Parkinson's, she was among his first readers. When he received honorary degrees and awards for his advocacy work, She was often in the audience, beaming with pride, watching Michael handle his diagnosis with such grace and determination. "It's taught me so much about resilience," Nancy says. "He could have retreated from public life, could have given up, could have become bitter. Instead, he's helped millions of people and advanced medical research in ways that will benefit generations." That's the Michael I fell for all those years ago, not because he was a movie star, but because he was extraordinary as a human being. Their story is more than just a Hollywood friendship. It's a testament to the idea that sometimes the best relationships are the ones that evolve, that transform from one kind of love into another. The romance between 21-year-old Michael and 19-year-old Nancy lasted only a few months, but the friendship that grew from it has lasted nearly 4 decades. In a town known for its superficiality, its temporary alliances, and its disposable relationships, Michael J. Fox and Nancy McKeon have created something genuinely rare, a bond based on mutual respect, shared history, and unconditional support. They've proven that former lovers can become lifelong friends, that careers can rise and fall while friendships endure, and that sometimes the most important relationships in our lives are the ones that surprise us by lasting far longer than we ever expected. Today, when asked about their relationship, both speak with warmth and gratitude about what they've shared. There's no awkwardness about their romantic past, no regret about the path not taken. Instead, there's a deep appreciation for the journey. They've traveled together, from young stars navigating fame to mature adults who found meaning and purpose beyond the spotlight. "I'm grateful for every chapter of our story," Michael says. "The romance was beautiful while it lasted, but the friendship, that's been the real love story. That's what sustained us through everything life has thrown our way." Nancy nods in agreement. "Some people come into your life for a season, some for a reason, and some for a lifetime. Michael has been all 3 for me, and I wouldn't change a single moment of it." As the sun sets on another day in Hollywood, where dreams are made and broken with equal frequency, the friendship between Michael J. Fox and Nancy McKeon stands as proof that some bonds transcend the temporary nature of fame, success, and even romantic love. Theirs is a story that reminds us that the best relationships are the ones that grow and change with us, that support us through our darkest moments, and that celebrate with us during our brightest triumphs. In the end, their brief fling sparked something far more valuable than a Hollywood romance. It created a friendship that has weathered decades, survived career changes, personal challenges, and the simple passage of time. And in an industry known for its fickleness, that might just be the most romantic story of all.